The unexpected discovery. Captain Zara Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Pathfinder, her eyes fixed on the swirling nebula before her. The exploration service ship had been mapping the outer reaches of known space for months, and the crew was eager for something, anything, to break the monotony. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Kira Novak from her station, "I'm picking up an anomalous reading at bearing 047 Mark 012. Zara's interest piqued. "What kind of anomaly, Lieutenant?" "It's hard to say, Captain. The energy signature doesn't match anything in our database. It's small, possibly artificial, and it's drifting." A hush fell over the bridge as the crew processed this information. First contact. A new technological discovery. The possibilities were endless. "Helm, set an intercept course," Zara ordered. "Let's see what we found." As the Pathfinder altered its trajectory, Zara felt a familiar mix of excitement and apprehension. This was why she joined the exploration service, for moments like these, when the unknown beckoned. Hours later, the object came into view on the main screen. It was indeed small, no larger than a personal shuttle, its hull a dull gray that almost blended with the starfield behind it. "Magnify," Zara commanded, and the image zoomed in. Collective gasps echoed around the bridge as details became clear. The object was clearly of human origin, its hull marked with faded insignia that Zara recognized from her history books. That's impossible," muttered Dr. Elias Reeves, the ship's chief scientist. "That's the logo of the old Earth Space Agency. They haven't existed for centuries." Zara's mind raced. How could a relic from humanity's early space age have ended up out here, beyond the fringes of explored space, and in such pristine condition? "Prepare a boarding party," she decided. "I want to know everything about this ship. Dr. Reeves, you're with me. Lieutenant Novak, you have the bridge." As Zara suited up in the airlock, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something monumental. The small vessel hung in space before them, a silent sentinel carrying secrets from a bygone era. With a hiss of equalizing pressure, Zara and her team pushed off towards the ancient ship. As they approached, she marveled at its condition. Despite its age, the hull showed minimal damage from micrometeorites or radiation. It was as if the vessel had been preserved in time, waiting for them. They found an entry point near what appeared to be the ship's main hatch. Dr. Reeves went to work on the manual override, and with a groan of protest, the hatch swung open. The interior was dark, illuminated only by the beams of their suit lights. Zara led the way, her boots magnetizing to the deck with each step. The air was stale but breathable, according to their suit sensors. "This is incredible," Dr. Reeves whispered, his light playing over consoles and displays that hadn't seen use in centuries. "The technology here, it's both familiar and utterly alien." Zara nodded, understanding what he meant. She recognized the general layout, but the specifics were like nothing she'd ever seen in modern ships. "Can you get any of it working?" Reeves moved to what appeared to be the main console. "I can try, but I don't want to risk damaging anything. This ship is an archaeological gold mine." As Reeves worked, Zara and the security officer, Sergeant Maya Torres, continued to explore. They found crew quarters, empty and undisturbed, and a small cargo hold filled with equipment they couldn't begin to identify. "Captain," Torres called out, her voice tense, "you need to see this." Zara made her way to where Torres stood in front of a sealed door marked Engine Room. But it wasn't the door that had caught the security officer's attention. On the wall beside it was a plaque, its surface still shiny despite the centuries. Zara leaned in, reading aloud, "ESA Wayfarer, Exploration Vessel. Launch date, July 20, 2084. 2084. Torres breathed. That's over 800 years ago. How is this possible?" Before Zara could respond, the ship suddenly hummed to life around them. Lights flickered on, and a soft vibration ran through the deck plates. "Reeves, Zara barked into her comm. "What did you do?" "Nothing." Reeves' panicked voice came back. "It just started on its own." Zara and Torres raced back to the main compartment, finding Reeves backed away from the console, his hands raised. The displays were now alive with scrolling data, and a soft blue glow emanated from a holographic projector in the center of the room. As they watched, the blue glow coalesced into the figure of a woman dressed in what Zara recognized as a 21st century ESA uniform. The hologram looked at each of them in turn, its gaze unnervingly lifelike. "Greetings," the hologram said, its voice echoing in the small space. "I am RIA, Artificial Reconnaissance and Intelligence Assistant of the ESA Wayfarer. Please identify yourselves and your mission." Zara stepped forward, her mind reeling. "An eye of this complexity shouldn't have existed in 2084. I am Captain Zora Chen of the ESS Pathfinder. We found your ship drifting in space." Aria's expression shifted to one of concern. "Captain Chen, I'm afraid there's been a terrible mistake. The Wayfarer isn't drifting. We're exactly where we're supposed to be." "And where is that?" Zara asked, a sense of foreboding growing in her chest. Aria's hologram flickered, and when it stabilized, the image of a star system appeared beside her. "We're at the edge of the Orion Arm, Captain. We've been waiting here for 819 years, 7 months, and 3 days, waiting for you." As the implications of Aria's words sank in, Zara realized that their routine exploration mission had just become anything but routine. The discovery of the Wayfarer wasn't just a glimpse into humanity's past. It was a message from it, one that had been waiting centuries to be delivered. And Zara had a feeling that once they heard that message, nothing would ever be the same again. Unveiling ancient secrets. The bridge of the ESS Pathfinder was eerily quiet as Captain Zara Chen digested Aria's words. The ancient artificial intelligence of the ESA Wayfarer stood before them, her holographic form flickering slightly in the dim light. "Waiting for us," Zara finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" Aria's expression remained neutral, but there was an undercurrent of urgency in her voice. "Captain, what I'm about to tell you will challenge everything you believe about human history and our place in the galaxy. Are you prepared for that?" Zara glanced at Dr. Reeves and Surgeon Torres, both of whom nodded grimly. "We're ready. Tell us everything." Aria's form shimmered, and suddenly the bridge of the Wayfarer was filled with a holographic display of the Milky Way. In the late 21st century, humanity made a discovery that changed everything. We weren't alone in the galaxy, and we weren't the first to achieve interstellar travel. The hologram zoomed in on a sector of space, revealing an intricate network of what appeared to be wormholes connecting various star systems. "We discovered the remnants of an ancient civilization, one that had mastered the ability to create stable wormholes," Aria continued. "This technology allowed us to spread across the galaxy far more quickly than we ever dreamed possible." Dr. Reeves leaned forward, his eyes wide with wonder. "But that's impossible. We've only just begun to theorize about the possibility of stable wormholes. The energy requirements alone would be beyond our current capabilities." "Yes," Ari interrupted, "but not beyond those of the precursors, as we came to call them. They had technology that even now would seem like magic to you." Zara frowned. "If we had this technology, this cosmic highway, why don't we remember it? Why aren't we using it now?" Aria's expression turned grim. The holographic display shifted, showing a massive fleet of ships unlike anything Zora had ever seen. They were organic in appearance, more like living creatures than vessels. "The Void Hunters," Aria said, her voice filled with a mixture of awe and fear. "A species as old as the precursors themselves, but with a singular goal: to consume all sentient life in the galaxy." Taurus's hand instinctively went to her weapon. "Are you saying these Void Hunters are still out there?" Aria nodded. "They are, and they're coming. The wormhole network wasn't just a means of travel, it was a warning system. When we activated it, we inadvertently signaled our presence to them. Zara felt a chill run down her spine. How long do we have? Based on our last calculations before the Wayfarer was sent on its mission, approximately 50 years from the moment you found us. The implications hit Zora like a physical blow. 50 years. Barely enough time to prepare for a threat that he knew nothing about. Why don't we remember any of this? Dr. Reeves asked, his voice shaking. A galactic war, advanced technology, alien threats. How could we forget? Aria's form seemed to slump slightly. Because we chose to forget, Dr. Reeves. When we realized the threat the Void Hunters posed, we made a decision. We shut down the wormhole network, destroyed all evidence of the technology we'd acquired, and used a combination of targeted electromagnetic pulses and carefully crafted misinformation to erase the knowledge from human consciousness. You're talking about a conspiracy on a scale that's unimaginable, Zora said, struggling to process the information. It was necessary, Aria replied. We knew the Void Hunters were coming, but we also knew they wouldn't arrive for centuries. We needed humanity to develop on its own, to reach the stars through its own ingenuity and determination. Only then would we be strong enough to face the threat. Zara paced the small bridge, her mind racing. And the Wayfarer? What was its purpose in all this? We were the fail-safe, Aria explained. A small ship, easy to overlook, carrying the last remnants of the knowledge we once had. We were sent to the edge of the Orion Arm, programmed to wait until humanity had reached a certain level of technological advancement before revealing ourselves. And now that time has come, Zara said, more a statement than a question. Aria nodded. Yes, Captain. The clock is ticking, and we have much work to do. For a moment, silence reigned on the bridge. Then, with a deep breath, Zara straightened her shoulders and turned to her crew. Dr. Reeves, I want you to work with Aria. Download everything you can from the Wayfarer's databases. Torres, secure the ship. No one comes in or out without my express permission. As her crew moved to follow her orders, Zara stared out at the stars beyond the Wayfarer's view screen. Somewhere out there, an ancient enemy was approaching, and humanity was woefully unprepared. Aria, she said, her voice low. You said the Wayfarer was waiting for us. What exactly were you waiting for us to do? The A's hologram flickered, and for a moment, Zara thought she saw a hint of sadness in its digital eyes. We were waiting for you to reactivate the wormhole network, Captain. It's the only way we'll be able to prepare in time. But in doing so, we risk alerting the Void Hunters to our precise location. Zara realized the weight of the decision settling on her shoulders. Aria nodded solemnly. That is correct, Captain. It's a calculated risk, but one we must take if humanity is to have any chance of survival. Zara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of an entire civilization settling on her shoulders. When she opened them again, there was steel in her gaze. Then we better make sure we're ready for them when they arrive. Show me everything, Aria. Every scrap of knowledge, every piece of technology. Humanity's future depends on what we do next. As Aria began to flood the bridge with holographic displays of long-forgotten technology and star charts, Zara felt a mix of fear and exhilaration. They were about to embark on a journey that would change the course of human history, and it all started with the discovery of a small, ancient ship that had been patiently waiting for centuries, carrying within it the key to humanity's survival. The unveiling of ancient secrets had begun. Now, the real work would start. The looming threat. The following weeks aboard the ESS Pathfinder were a whirlwind of activity. Captain Zara Chen had made the difficult decision to keep their discovery classified, sharing the information only with a select few at the highest levels of Earth's government and military. The risk of panic was too great, and they needed time to prepare. Dr. Elias Reeves worked tirelessly with Aria, sifting through centuries of dormant data. Each day brought new revelations, each more astonishing than the last. The technology of the precursors was beyond anything they had imagined, and the threat posed by the Void Hunters was more terrifying than their worst nightmares. "It's like trying to drink from a fire hose," Reeves muttered one day, rubbing his tired eyes. "The advancements in physics alone. It'll take decades just to understand the basics." Zara nodded sympathetically. "We don't have decades, Elias. What's our most pressing concern?" Aria's hologram flickered to life beside them. "The wormhole network, Captain. Without it, we have no hope of mobilizing quickly enough to face the Void Hunters. And with it, we risk drawing their attention immediately." Zara finished. It was a debate they'd had countless times over the past weeks. "Show me the projections again." A holographic display materialized, showing two possible timelines. In one, humanity struggled to advance their technology, barely making progress before the Void Hunters arrived. In the other, the reactivated wormhole network allowed for rapid expansion and technological growth, but the timeline was significantly shorter. "We're damned if we do, damned if we don't," Zara murmured. "Not necessarily," Captain Arai interjected. "There is another option, one that the original mission planners considered but ultimately rejected as too risky." Zara's eyebrow raised. "I'm listening." "The precursors didn't just leave behind technology. They left weapons, incredibly powerful weapons, capable of destroying entire star systems." The implications hit Zora like a physical blow. "You're talking about a first strike. Hit the Void Hunters before they reach us." Aria nodded. "It would require reactivating only a small portion of the network, reducing our chances of detection. We could launch a preemptive attack, potentially crippling their forces before they even know we're aware of them." Zara paced the room, her mind racing. The idea of such destructive power in anyone's hands was terrifying, let alone using it against an enemy they'd never even seen. But if it meant saving humanity, what's the catch? She asked, knowing there had to be one. Aria's hologram flickered, a sign Zora had come to recognize as discomfort. "The weapons, they're not entirely stable. Using them could have unforeseen consequences, spatial rifts, temporal distortions. We could end up doing as much damage to ourselves as to the enemy." Zara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. When she opened them, there was a determined glint in her gaze. "We need more information. Aria, where are these weapons located?" "The nearest cache is in a system approximately 50 light-years from here. With conventional drives, it would take years to reach." "And with the wormhole network?" "Days, Captain. Perhaps even hours." Zara nodded, her decision made. "Plot a course. We're going to find those weapons." As the Pathfinder prepared for its journey, tension aboard the ship reached a fever pitch. Everyone understood the gravity of their mission, the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. The day of departure arrived, and Zara stood on the bridge, watching as her crew made final preparations. She thought of Earth, of the billions of people going about their lives, blissfully unaware of the threat looming on the horizon. "Aria," she called out, "begin the activation sequence." The AI's hologram appeared, its expression solemn. "Captain, once we start this process, there's no going back." "Are you certain?" Zara took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "I'm certain that if we do nothing, humanity is doomed. At least this way, we have a fighting chance." With a nod from Zora, Aria began the activation sequence. The ship hummed with energy as long-dormant systems came to life. On the main view screen, a swirling vortex of blue and white energy began to form. "Wormhole stable, Captain," Lieutenant Novik reported, her voice tinged with awe. "Ready when you are." Zara gripped the arms of her chair, her knuckles white. This was it, the point of no return. With this step, they would be committing humanity to a path that could lead to salvation or destruction. "Take us in," she ordered. The Pathfinder surged forward, entering the wormhole. As the familiar starscape disappeared, replaced by a tunnel of swirling energy, Zora couldn't shake the feeling that they were awakening something ancient and powerful, something that perhaps should have been left sleeping. As they emerged on the other side, in a star system that no human had visited in centuries, Zora's comm unit crackled to life. It was a priority message from Earth Command. Captain Chen, the voice of Admiral Yuki Tanaka, filled the bridge. We've detected multiple anomalies at the edge of our solar system. Unknown objects, moving at impossible speeds. They'll reach Earth in less than a month. Zara's blood ran cold. She locked eyes with Araya's hologram, seeing her own fear reflected in the eye's digital gaze. It's them, Araya confirmed. The Void Hunters. They're here. The looming threat had become an imminent one. The race to save humanity had begun in earnest, and they were already behind. Humanity's grand plan. The bridge of the ESS Pathfinder was a flurry of activity as Captain Zora Chen absorbed the shocking news. The Void Hunters, an ancient and terrifying enemy, were no longer a distant threat, but an imminent danger to Earth. Araya, Zora called out, her voice steady despite the panic threatening to overwhelm her. How is this possible? You said we had 50 years. The AI's hologram flickered, a mix of confusion and concern evident in its digital features. I don't understand, Captain. Our calculations were precise. Unless... Araya paused, its expression shifting to one of realization. The wormhole activation. It must have alerted them far sooner than we anticipated. Dr. Reeves, who had been furiously working at his console, looked up with wide eyes. Captain, if that's true, then we've inadvertently accelerated their arrival by decades. Zara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. When she opened them again, there was a fierce determination in her gaze. Then we'll just have to accelerate our plans as well. Araya, how close are we to the weapons cache? We're in the correct system, Captain. The cache is located on the third planet from the star. We should be able to reach it within hours. Make it so, Zara ordered. She turned to her communications officer. Lieutenant, send a message to Earth Command. Inform them of our location and mission. Tell them. She paused, considering her words carefully. Tell them to prepare for the worst, but not to lose hope. We're working on a solution. As the Pathfinder approached the mysterious planet, tension aboard the ship reached a fever pitch. The fate of humanity now rested on what they would find in this ancient weapons cache. The planet itself was a desolate wasteland, its surface scarred by what appeared to be ancient battles. As they descended through the atmosphere, massive structures began to emerge from the haze, clearly artificial and clearly not of human origin. My God, Dr. Reeves whispered as they approached a colossal pyramid-like structure. The scale of this, it's beyond anything we've ever encountered. Zara nodded, her eyes fixed on the looming structure. Araya, any signs of active defenses or security systems? Negative, Captain. The facility appears to be dormant. However, I'm detecting faint energy signatures from within the structure. It seems the cache is still operational. The landing was tense but uneventful. As Zara led the away team into the ancient facility, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into the pages of a cosmic horror story. The corridors were vast, clearly designed for beings much larger than humans, and the walls were covered in intricate symbols that seemed to shift and change as they passed. Finally, they reached what appeared to be a central chamber. In the center stood a pedestal, atop which floated a small, unassuming cube. Is that it? Sergeant Torres asked, her voice hushed with awe and trepidation. Araya's voice came through their comms. Yes, that is the control node for the precursor weapon system. With it, you should be able to access and control the entire network. Zara approached the pedestal cautiously. As she reached out to touch the cube, it suddenly sprang to life, projecting a holographic display that filled the entire chamber. Star systems, weapon platforms, and swirling energies beyond comprehension surrounded them. This is incredible, Dr. Reeves breathed, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his fear. With this technology, we could. We could destroy ourselves just as easily as our enemies, Zara finished grimly. She turned to address her team. This isn't a decision I can make alone. The consequences of using these weapons, they're too vast. We need to consult with Earth Command. But as they prepared to transmit their findings back to Earth, an alarm blared through their comms. Lieutenant Novik's panicked voice filled the chamber. Captain, we're detecting multiple wormhole signatures opening near Earth. The Void Hunters, they're already there. The news hit like a physical blow. They were out of time. Zara's mind raced, weighing impossible choices against unthinkable consequences. Use the weapons and risk unimaginable collateral damage, or do nothing and watch humanity fall. In that moment of crisis, an idea began to form. A desperate, audacious plan that hinged on everything they'd learned about the precursors and the Void Hunters. "Araya," Zora called out, her voice filled with a mixture of fear and determination. "You said the wormhole network was also a warning system, right? Is there any way we could use it too? I don't know. Broadcast a signal. Something that might disrupt the Void Hunters." There was a pause as Araya processed the request. "It's possible, Captain." The network was designed to transmit vast amounts of data instantaneously across the galaxy. In theory, we could use it to broadcast a signal that might interfere with the Void Hunters' neural networks. Dr. Reeves' eyes lit up with understanding. A galaxy-wide EMP targeting their specific biology. It's brilliant, but the energy requirements would be enormous. Zara looked at the weapons cache, then back at the holographic display of the wormhole network. What if we used the weapons' power sources to fuel the broadcast? Instead of destroying, we repurposed them to defend. Araya's hologram appeared, its expression a mix of admiration and concern. "It could work, Captain, but the risks are significant. We'd be pushing the network far beyond its intended use. The consequences could be unpredictable." Zara nodded, understanding the gravity of what she was proposing. "It's a risk we have to take. It's our only chance to save Earth without resorting to the same destructive force we're fighting against." She turned to her team, seeing the mixture of fear and resolve in their eyes. "Let's do this." As they began the monumental task of repurposing an ancient alien superweapon into humanity's last line of defense, Zora couldn't help but marvel at the irony. They had come seeking the power to destroy their enemies, only to find a way to potentially save both humanity and the Void Hunters from mutual destruction. The grand plan was set in motion. Now all that remained was to execute it before it was too late. The fate of not just humanity, but perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. The final stand. The ancient precursor facility hummed with energy as Captain Zara Chen and her team worked feverishly to implement their audacious plan. Dr. Reeves, with Araya's guidance, was reconfiguring the weapons cache to channel its immense power into the wormhole network. Sergeant Torres coordinated with the Pathfinder crew, preparing for any potential counterattack. "How much longer?" Zara asked, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing the Void Hunters' advance on Earth. "We're at 87% completion, Captain," Dr. Reeves replied, his voice strained with concentration. "But there's no way to test this. Once we activate it, there's no going back." Zara nodded grimly. "We don't have the luxury of a test run. Earth has minutes, not hours." The comm system crackled to life, Admiral Tanaka's voice filling the chamber. "Captain Chen, status report. The Void Hunters have breached our outer defenses. We can't hold them back much longer." "Stand by, Admiral," Zara responded, trying to keep the desperation out of her voice. "We're about to launch a counteroffensive. Just hold on a little longer." As the final preparations were made, Araya's hologram appeared before Zara. "Captain, there's something you should know. The energy required for this broadcast. It's likely to overload and destroy much of the wormhole network. We may be cutting ourselves off from a significant portion of the galaxy." Zara's jaw tightened. "If this works, that's a price we'll gladly pay. If it doesn't, well, It won't matter much anyway. There's more. Araya continued, its expression solemn. The feedback from the broadcast could be lethal to any AI systems in its path, including me. The implications hit Zora like a physical blow. Araya, no. There has to be another way. The AI's hologram smiled sadly. I was created for this moment, Captain. To guide humanity when the time came. My purpose will be fulfilled. Before Zara could protest further, Dr. Reeves called out, We're ready, Captain. It's now or never. With a heavy heart, Zara gave the order. Do it. The chamber filled with blinding light as the reproposed weapons cache poured its energy into the wormhole network. The holographic display erupted into a cascade of swirling patterns, representing the signal spreading across the galaxy at impossible speeds. On Earth, the scene was chaos. Void hunter ships darkened the skies, their organic forms twisting in ways that defied physics. Ground forces fought valiantly, but were slowly being pushed back. Suddenly, a wave of energy washed over the planet. The Void Hunter ships shuddered, their synchronized movements becoming erratic. On the ground, the alien invaders stumbled, their neural networks disrupted by the galaxy-spanning signal. Back in the precursor facility, consoles exploded in showers of sparks as the system was pushed beyond its limits. It's working. Dr. Reeves shouted over the din. The Void Hunters are disoriented, but the network is collapsing. Zara watched as wormhole after wormhole winked out of existence on the holographic display. They were cutting themselves off from vast swaths of the galaxy, but it was working. Earth was being saved. Araya's hologram flickered violently. Captain, it's been an honor. Remember, the knowledge. Preserve it. With a final smile, the AI that had waited centuries to fulfill its purpose faded away. As the energy wave subsided, an eerie silence fell over the facility. The holographic display was gone, leaving only the dim emergency lighting. Did it work? Sergeant Torres asked, her voice barely above a whisper. As if in answer, Admiral Tanaka's voice came through the comm system, filled with disbelief and hope. Captain Chen, I don't know what you did, but the Void Hunters are retreating. Their ships are falling from the sky. A cheer went up from the team, but Zora's celebration was tempered by the cost of their victory. She looked at the now dormant weapons cache, thinking of Araya's sacrifice and the vast sections of the galaxy now cut off from them. Hours later, as the Pathfinder made its slow journey back to Earth using conventional drives, Zara stood alone on the bridge, staring out at the stars. They had saved humanity, but at what cost? And what challenges would they face in this new, more isolated galaxy? Dr. Reeves joined her, his face a mixture of exhaustion and wonder. You know, Captain, we got centuries of precursor knowledge to sift through. Who knows what we might discover? Zara nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. You're right. We've lost a lot, but we gained something too. A second chance. A clean slate. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Zara thought about the journey ahead. They had faced a threat 800,000 years in the making and emerged victorious. Now it was time to write the next chapter in humanity's story. The Void Hunters were defeated, but Zara knew this was just the beginning. There were more mysteries to unravel, more challenges to face, but for the first time in centuries, humanity's future was truly in its own hands. As the Pathfinder began its descent towards a hero's welcome, Zara made a silent promise to Araya and to the countless others who had sacrificed everything for this moment. They would not waste this opportunity. Humanity would learn, grow, and explore the stars with newfound wisdom and respect for the vast, complex tapestry of the cosmos. The 800,000-year war was over. Now, the real work of building a lasting peace could begin.